Thanks for joining us. I'm Randall Bennett. One of the seminal music industry woes was Napster, back created in the late 90s. But now the company is back with another parent, and this time they're trying to make another run at paying for subscription music, and you'll even get some tracks you can take with your iPod with you as well. Let's talk about this new model and exactly the details behind it with two experts. We bring in John Falcone from CNET. John, thanks for being with us.
Sure.
We also bring in Rob Enderle from the Enderle Group. Rob, thanks for being with us as well.
Thank you.
So this new model, in the past, Napster had been sort of a DRM restricted. We'll give you files as long as you keep up your subscription. You can put them on any Windows Media player, any Windows Media compatible player. Now that's kind of gone away, and this is more of a streaming service like Pandora, where you have to have a net connection that persists to be able to stream the content. But they'll throw in 5 songs for $5 a month. John, what's your take on this whole new model? I mean, obviously Napster hasn't been able to convert so far on their early days of piracy into real dollars. Do you think this is something that will work for them, or I don't know, what's your take?
I think it's an uphill battle for these guys. They have several problems, one of which they're competing with the classic Napster everybody remembers, which was quite illegal, but really worked kind of perfectly from a user perspective, where you just type a name in, those great green dots would pop up, and you just click on it, and you'd have it a few seconds later. The streaming model sounds potentially nice, but now they're competing with stuff we already have that's free, like Last.fm and Pandora. So, not quite sure what the value added is there.
I think for them, obviously they, Best Buy had picked them up I think it was a couple months back, and now they're trying to slap, a marketing frenzy together and blah, blah, blah. So this is kind of where they're going. Rob, do you think that people still associate like a positive idea with Napster? Do you think that's going to be something that's going to help them out, or do you think this is kind of a wash?
Well, it's a recognized brand, if that's what you're asking. The thing is I agree that the recollection is it's a service where you go get music and you get it for free. I'm not sure anybody really cared whether it was legal or not at the time. The only people that cared was the RIA and Napster, who was almost sued into obsolescence. But as I understand this, it sounds like, this would have been really interesting, say, about 5 years ago, when people were primarily listening to internet music off the computer. You would use this as a discovery mechanism, and then for up to 5 tracks, that was built into the service, and you could pick them and you could acquire your music that way. The problem is, though, is right now you listen to your music on a lot of stuff, and one, on a streaming service, you can't listen to it in your car. At least most of us can't listen to it in our car. You can't listen to it around your home. Well, yeah, you can do that, but you're going to have a PC or something that is a general use internet device connected up to it. And then how do you select those 5 songs? You're going to note them down, and when you get next back at your PC, you're going to click and go. This really doesn't sound like it's complete yet.
Yeah,
it's an interesting idea, about 5 years late and incomplete.
Yeah. So John, what do you think it would take for this to be more complete of an idea? I mean, we've seen a lot of set-top boxes, for example, that have leveraged services like Pandora and Last.fm to create kind of, you do something on your computer, you can get it on your TV. Do you think that this is, what are the elements you think that they need to put in place for this to actually work?
The first thing that would be absolutely imperative would be an iPhone app. Those other 2 guys you named that already have that, and I do know some people that listen to Pandora in their car on an iPhone, and they just hook it up to the 3.5 millimeter in jack on their stereo, and they're pretty much good to go. So iPhone app is definitely number one. It sounds like they already have something on the desktop. Building into as many other devices as possible would be great too, but I think they also are going to just have to go to some 2-tiered thing where one is free, and then maybe the trade-up is 5 songs for $5 or whatever as well.
It's kind of interesting though, like 5 songs for $5 is, I guess it is a whole $1 cheaper than the iTunes Music Store, but it still doesn't seem like that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Rob, do you think that there's anything maybe that John missed, or do you think there's any other crucial ways for this to actually succeed if they want it to happen?
Well, as I say, the process is too difficult. As you point out, you're not getting a break on the songs. I mean, the songs are kind of paying for the service. But if I'm just listening to the radio and I like 5 tunes, I can just go get the 5 tunes, and this isn't all that much easier. In fact, it's not any easier at all if you're listening to a regular radio or you're streaming off some other service. So, at the very least, they need to have some way to connect the listening experience to the buying experience. And I agree, the iPhone, iPod Touch is probably where it should be. But then I'm thinking, well, but is Apple going to be really pleased with you buying music some other way than through through iTunes. That means they'd have to link it back into iTunes. That means they've got to pay Apple some money. I don't know. This is one of those things that looks like they've got one heck of a last yard to cover. This was quick, it was dirty, and it is not elegant.
That's interesting stuff. I think the one thing that they could really do to make maybe a cut above the rest of the other services. Services like Pandora are great because they recommend music to you, and it starts to get customized on your listening tastes. I think this really has to just be a solely music discovery thing. It needs to be the place to go to find new music. And I mean, obviously, people like record label, the 61. I can name like 10 services off the top of my head that are trying to do this. So maybe they have a long way to go, if nothing else. Guys, we're out of time, so we're gonna have to leave it there. John Falcone from CNET, thanks for being with us.
Sure.
Also, we have Rob Enderle from the Enderle Group. Thanks for being with us as well. We have links to all of their information at our site, techv.com, and you should subscribe to our iTunes feed, and maybe we'll figure out how to get on Napster as well. See you later.